Greetings, my dear viewer. You're on the channel The Price of Cheating. The channel is for those who appreciate traditional family values and condemn adultery. So be sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get started. Imagine being married for 43 years, and suddenly your spouse asks for a year of complete freedom. No contact, no rules, and the possibility of forming new relationships. How would you react? This is the exact situation I found myself in. Here's how it all started. Oscar Anderson, the successful CEO of a family business, had just arranged a surprise trip to celebrate many years of marriage with his wife, Poppy. Little did he know, their life was about to experience a significant upheaval. For years, Oscar had worked tirelessly to build a thriving company that had been passed down through his family for generations. He devoted himself to providing his family with a stable and comfortable life, balancing his role as a business leader with active community involvement. "Good evening, dear," Oscar greeted warmly as he entered the kitchen after a long day at work. Poppy glanced at him briefly from her seat at the table, her face expressionless, giving nothing away. "I thought you'd be home earlier," she remarked. "What's with the red envelope? Valentine's Day was last week." "I had some business to finish," Oscar replied, setting his briefcase and the envelope down on the coffee table. He tapped the envelope gently. "We need to talk about this tonight." Oscar sat down across from her and noticed 2 glasses of red wine already poured. Beside her glass were a pen and a notebook, which piqued his curiosity. "How was your day?" Poppy asked, sounding casual, though her tone carried a certain detachment, as if she wasn't particularly interested in his answer. "It was fine," Oscar replied cautiously, his gaze drifting toward the notebook. "But I sense this isn't just about my day." Poppy sighed heavily, as if gathering the courage to speak. "You're right," she began. "Lately I've been thinking a lot. About my life, about us. After organizing a reunion for my sorority sisters after so many years, losing 2 close friends to cancer, and with the kids leaving home, I've started to wonder where I'm heading." She paused, looking directly into Oscar's eyes. "And that brings me to our marriage. 43 years is a long time. Some of my sorority friends are already on their 2nd, even 3rd marriages." She leaned back in her chair and continued. "So where does that leave us? What keeps us together? And more importantly, what will keep us together for the next 20 years? Oscar listened intently, his mind racing. "I understand," he said slowly. "I've been reflecting on my life too. Some men go through a midlife crisis, buy expensive cars, or start dating younger women. I'm grateful I didn't take that path. I have an incredible wife who keeps me grounded. And how can I make the next phase of our life something to look forward to?" Poppy smiled faintly. "That's why I love you, Oscar. You really listen. Most men wouldn't even try to understand." She took a deep breath before continuing. "But I think I have a solution. My whole life, I've lived under someone else's roof. First, it was my father's house, then the sorority dorm in college. After we married, I moved into this house, a wedding gift from your grandparents." Her voice grew more passionate. "Being with you has been wonderful, but not entirely fulfilling. I've always been the wife of the Chamber of Commerce president, the wife of the church council member, the wife of the country club president. I've always been in your shadow. You are the sun, Oscar, and I'm one of the moons orbiting around you." Oscar sat in silence, unsure where her words were leading. "I need to step out of this orbit," Poppy said firmly. "If I don't, I'm afraid I'll lose myself completely." She took a deep breath before continuing. "I want to leave. I've thought about this long and hard. I need a break. Freedom. Call it what you will. A year, with no contact between us. I'll move out and live on my own, and during that time we can both reflect." Oscar was stunned, his mind struggling to keep up. "No contact at all?" he asked in disbelief. "I understand you need space, but no communication at all, that seems too much." Poppy nodded. "It will be hard for both of us," she admitted. "I'll think about you every day. But after a year we'll meet again and decide what comes next." Oscar stared at her, bewildered. His life, once so neatly organized, was now crumbling right before his eyes. "Our lives are so closely intertwined," Poppy began, her voice calm but firm. "How can we possibly untangle them? It will feel like we're no longer husband and wife," she explained, as if it were self-evident. She continued, outlining her vision of the future. They would drift apart, each focusing on their own interests, exploring new passions. Poppy shared that she couldn't wait to take feminist courses and immerse herself in fresh perspectives. "It's like a break, but without bitterness or distrust," she said, almost cheerfully. "We'll still be lovers, just apart for a year. Couples in the military do it all the time. It works for them." Oscar listened, but with every word she spoke, a cold fear crept into his heart. "You mentioned you'd behave like a free woman, seeing new people," he began, his voice trembling with anxiety. "Does that mean you plan to see other men?" Poppy's smile was faint and indifferent. "Perhaps," she admitted, keeping her tone composed. "But I doubt anyone will rush to invite me to a fancy dinner or anything like that." Oscar's face tensed, his worry growing. "And if you do end up seeing someone, does that mean you'll, well, sleep with them?" His voice shook as he tried to stay calm. Poppy shrugged slightly. "Maybe," she said, still unperturbed. "How else can I fully understand what it means to be a woman? You're the only man I've ever been with, Oscar. I just want to be on the same level as you." Oscar's face tightened, anger starting to simmer inside him. "You seem to be forgetting something important. We're married. We made vows to share life together, to go through everything as one. I've kept my word, and I expect the same from you." Poppy's response was dismissive. "Let's see how things are in a year," she said, waving off his concerns. "We'll figure it out when the time comes." Oscar's patience was wearing thin. "There's no guarantee you'll come back to me at all," he said, his voice rising. "What if you fall in love with someone else? What if I'm no longer the one you want?" "Oh, don't be so dramatic," Poppy scoffed. "It's just physical intimacy, Oscar, nothing more. When we reunite after a year, you'll be grateful everything is back to normal. Don't make it out to be more than it is. I'm trying to grow, to become more confident, and that will make me a better partner for you." Oscar felt the ground slipping from under him. A year without contact? It seemed too extreme. "Why can't we work this out through therapy?" he suggested, trying to find a compromise. Poppy shook her head, her resolve unwavering. "Talking isn't enough. I don't want to just discuss change. I need to live it. If we don't take a real break, I'll keep relying on you and won't be able to grow. I need to know what it's like to be apart so I can come back with a clearer mind." Oscar's voice was barely a whisper. "I don't think I can survive this." But Poppy was resolute. "Oscar, I need to do this now. It's better to go through a year of uncertainty and stress than to drag this out for years. When it's over, we'll be stronger." Oscar's heart clenched. "When are you planning to move out?" he asked, his voice hollow. "I've already rented an apartment for the next year. I'll start moving this weekend," Poppy replied, as if it were just another task on her list. Oscar felt the ground completely give way beneath him. He stammered, trying to find the right words. "Can't we at least talk about this in more detail before you make such a big decision?" he pleaded. Poppy reached out, placing her hand on his. "I'm really grateful that you're willing to discuss this," she said softly. "I truly believe that in the long run, this will make our relationship better. I love you for your understanding." Oscar pulled his hand away, her words cutting deep. "You're giving me far too much credit," he said painfully. "I don't understand why you're doing this, and to be honest, I don't support it. It feels like this is happening no matter what I want, like my feelings don't even matter." Without saying another word, he stood, his head spinning. "At the moment, I'm completely overwhelmed. I don't even know where to begin or how to handle this situation. My head is spinning like a whirlwind. Maybe we just need to sleep on it, and tomorrow evening we can figure everything out. Are you going to bed, or are we already starting to drift apart from each other?" "Not yet, darling," Poppy softly replied. "I need to finish all the details of my move, but I'll join you soon." With a heavy heart, Oscar climbed the stairs, exhausted. He collapsed onto the bed, but sleep wouldn't come. His thoughts were a tangled mess of uncertainty, questions endlessly spinning in his head, offering no clear answers. Later that night, Poppy quietly slipped into bed next to him, gently pressing her body against his. She kissed his shoulder, and he felt her warm tears soak into his skin as she whispered, "I'm so sorry, Oscar." "I'm sorry too, Poppy," he responded, his voice barely audible. "I love you," she whispered, her words filled with emotion. After a moment's hesitation, he asked, "Is this the last time I'll hear you say that?" Her voice was soft, but with a glimmer of hope as she replied, "I want this to make us better, not worse. I'm leaving to become a better wife, a better lover, and I will come back." The next morning, Oscar woke up earlier than usual. For the first time, he didn't make Poppy her morning coffee in bed. Instead, he left the house, got into his car, and texted his friend Tony. He needed advice, a way to make sense of the chaos around him. After Oscar explained Poppy's plan, Tony listened carefully and then looked at him seriously. "Honestly, man, it sounds like she already has someone else, but she's hesitating to make the final move. She's testing how things will play out. If it works out with him, you'll be her second choice. If it doesn't, she'll come back, pretending to be renewed and ready to be the perfect wife again. You're her backup plan, Oscar, while she figures it all out." "How do I stop her from using me like that?" Oscar asked, feeling a knot tighten in his stomach. "Let her go, and do it quickly," Tony said firmly. "Take control. The day she moves out, file for divorce. Make it clear that she's the one leaving. Divorce will take about 5 to 6 months. If for some reason you still want her back, just don't sign the final papers. That way, you'll be in control." Tony continued, "And remember this, if she cheats and you take her back, it'll be easier for her to cheat again. And one more thing, keep calm. Don't lose control, don't yell. If things get out of hand, especially in court, losing your temper will only hurt you. Act like you agree with her decision, like you understand." As Oscar was leaving the car dealership, his eyes fell on a black convertible. On impulse, he decided to buy it. "If things are going this way, I might as well get something good out of this year," he joked to Tony with a grin. When he got home that evening, Poppy was already there, her anxiety evident. "Oscar, darling, where are you?" she called, her voice full of worry. "I missed you this morning. Can we talk? I've been thinking a lot since our conversation last night." Oscar kept his tone calm. "I needed some time alone. The drive helped clear my head. I've been doing a lot of thinking, too." "I can take the day off if you need me," Poppy offered, her voice softening. "I know I turned your world upside down last night. I'm really worried about you, my wonderful husband. Just tell me what you need. We can talk now, at lunch, or dinner, whenever. I need you to be here. I'm afraid of the path I feel like I'm heading down. Please, Oscar, I need your advice." A flicker of resentment sparked in Oscar as she suddenly sought comfort, despite everything she had said. Taking a deep breath, he quietly replied, "I need more time, Poppy. I really need to think about this separation and what it means for us. I'll be in the study, I'll close the door, turn off my phone, and try to figure out what to do next." "Why don't we stick to our usual dinner time today?" Oscar suggested. "I'll take care of everything so you can relax and not worry about cooking or cleaning." Poppy quickly agreed, grateful for the offer. However, when they later sat down at the table, an unspoken tension filled the room. During dinner, Poppy enthusiastically shared her plans about moving into her new apartment and the courses she intended to take. She asked Oscar if she could take some of their furniture with her, and he briefly nodded in response. "Thank you for being considerate," Poppy said with a smile. "You're so kind." Oscar restrained himself from making a sarcastic remark. Instead, he said, "I doubt all your things will fit in a 200-square-foot apartment. What's your plan for the rest?" When Poppy suggested leaving some items in the house, Oscar firmly shook his head. "If you're moving, everything has to go with you. This can't be a backup option while you start a new life." Poppy's initial excitement about her decision began to fade. "You're okay with me taking the bed, but now you're creating issues about the other things," she said, showing her irritation. "What am I supposed to do if I can't leave them here?" "If you want to be independent, why are you asking me for help?" Oscar responded coldly. "You chose to leave and live on your own, so why do you expect me to step in now? You can always rent a storage unit. There are plenty around the city. The conversation quickly escalated into a heated argument about logistics. In the end, Oscar decided to stop beating around the bush. Poppy, I've been thinking a lot since we first talked about all this. If I have to be without a wife for a while, maybe I should consider making some changes, he stated bluntly. Poppy stared at him in shock. What changes are you talking about? I'll be free, and I want to change my life, Oscar said calmly. Maybe I should think about replacing my wife with someone younger and more interesting, instead of staying with the outdated version. Wait a minute, Poppy flared up. I'm doing this to become a better version of myself for you. There's no reason for you to start looking for someone else. I don't like your plan either, Oscar retorted. But you made it clear that my feelings don't matter. You were going to do what you wanted regardless of how I felt. You didn't care what it meant to me to have a wife who wants to be with other men. So, while you do whatever you want, I'll do the same over the next year. Let's see how it all turns out. The argument escalated to the point where Poppy eventually stormed out of the house, leaving Oscar alone. A red envelope with their travel plans remained unopened on the coffee table, a reminder of what once was. In the following weeks, Oscar threw himself into work and enjoyed his newfound freedom. He redecorated the house, removing family photos and replacing them with sports memorabilia. He started grilling steaks outside and listening to jazz at full volume, things Poppy had never approved of. Meanwhile, Poppy settled into her new apartment and began taking feminist theory courses. However, the joy of this new phase in her life was overshadowed by the growing distance between her and their children, who didn't understand her choices. As time passed, both Oscar and Poppy found themselves navigating unfamiliar territory. Although he didn't want to, Oscar attended court-ordered marriage counseling sessions. The therapist explored the reasons behind their separation. Poppy insisted that she needed to rediscover herself, while Oscar remained adamant that her desire to be with other men was something he could not tolerate. During this time, Oscar started spending time with two women, Linda, a striking widow with a young son, and Sarah, a former professional swimmer now working in real estate. While he enjoyed their company, he stayed true to himself and decided to remain celibate until his marriage was officially over. On the other hand, Poppy fully immersed herself in her new life, going to clubs with her recently divorced friends and enjoying the attention of other men. However, a chance encounter with a charming stranger named Nick led to unexpected consequences. As the year-long separation neared its end, the tension between Oscar and Poppy reached its peak. Poppy was confident that Oscar would take her back without hesitation, but Oscar had changed. Her betrayal had left a wound that would not heal so easily. The tension reached its peak when the couple's children discovered incriminating photos of Poppy's infidelity, sealing the fate of their already crumbling marriage. The day of reckoning arrived when Oscar and Poppy met at the lawyer's office to finalize the inevitable. Poppy arrived first, stylishly dressed in a new outfit, radiating hope that perhaps there was still a chance for reconciliation. Oscar arrived shortly after her, calmly placing a bright red envelope on the table. "Apologies for the delay," he murmured. After exchanging quick, polite greetings, the lawyers got straight to business, presenting the divorce papers. Oscar and Poppy signed the documents as previously agreed. Once the paperwork was complete, Oscar turned to her, his expression unreadable. "Do you have anything to say?" he asked, his voice calm but devoid of emotion. Poppy took a deep breath. "This year has been incredibly hard without the person I love by my side. But through these difficulties, I've grown. I've gained a deeper understanding of myself and our marriage. I need to thank you, Oscar, for giving me the space to reflect. Now, more than ever, I am committed to our union. I promise, you will never regret giving me another chance. I will prove my loyalty to you for the rest of my life." Oscar remained unmoved, his face betraying no reaction. When she finished, he responded in an even tone, "Trust is the foundation of everything, Poppy. Our vows were built on that, on loyalty. Without trust, love cannot exist. That's why we're here, signing these divorce papers. I can only hope that we both will be honest with ourselves." He paused before continuing. "Over the past year, I've interacted with other women, but I never allowed myself to cross certain boundaries. He locked eyes with Poppy. Can you say the same? Have you been faithful to me? The question caught Poppy off guard. She blinked, startled, and quickly replied, Yes, of course, I've been faithful. Oscar's expression hardened. He took the red envelope, pulled out a photograph, and placed it in front of her. The picture showed Poppy passionately kissing Nick at a nightclub. Is this your idea of loyalty? He asked, his tone sharp. Poppy's face flushed with embarrassment. She stammered, It was just a kiss. It meant nothing. I didn't cheat. Oscar didn't respond immediately, instead producing another, far more compromising photo. Poppy's eyes widened in shock, horror spreading across her face. Where did you get this? She asked in panic. Were you spying on me? Oscar's voice trembled with restrained anger. Our son's girlfriend took these. She happened to be at the same club. Our son found out from her. It's a disgrace to our family. As the weight of her actions settled in, Poppy's face paled. Tears began to well in her eyes, while Oscar's voice rose, filled with unbearable emotion. Do you have any idea what it was like for our son to see his mother, in a crowded club, behaving like this with some random guy? He had to endure that shame. Can you even imagine what was going through his mind when he saw that photo? And now you wonder why the kids won't answer your calls? Casting one last glance at his lawyer, Oscar handed over the signed divorce documents. File them, he ordered firmly. Poppy's voice was desperate as she tried to justify herself. Oscar, it was meaningless. It meant nothing to me, and it meant nothing to Nick. It was just physical. There was no love involved. Oscar's eyes grew even colder, his gaze icy. That's what makes it even worse, Poppy, he replied, his voice terrifyingly calm. The fact that it meant nothing to you, knowing how much it meant to me. Do you even realize how deeply that hurts? His words were the final crushing blow. That's the cruelest thing you could have said to me, she whispered, broken. Poppy burst into tears, her body shaking with uncontrollable sobs as she pleaded for forgiveness. No, please, no, I want to be your wife again. Please forgive me. I promise, I'll be faithful from now on. Please don't leave me. I don't want to end up like one of those women who are left alone after a divorce. Don't push me away. I beg you, forgive me. Her desperate words didn't reach him. Oscar had already stepped out the door, and her pleas gradually faded as he made his way to his BMW. The rest of the day passed in quiet solitude. With a glass of whiskey in hand and a slowly smoldering cigar nearby, he sat on the terrace, lost in thought. In the evening, his phone buzzed non-stop, calls from Poppy and messages from Linda, Sarah, and the kids, but Oscar decided to ignore them all. The next morning, Linda gently shook his shoulder, waking him from a restless sleep. How are you holding up? She asked, her face full of concern. Oscar forced a faint smile. I'm okay, I guess. Why wouldn't I be? At least you haven't lost your sense of humor even after the divorce. She sat beside him, wrapping her arms around his shoulders. What's next? Will I be a part of what's to come? Without hesitation, Oscar replied, Of course you will. I'm here for you. Take your time. You're still processing the end of a long marriage. It's no small thing. She squeezed his hand, offering support. I'll be here for as long as it takes. As winter set in, with its crisp air and white snowflakes, Oscar slowly started to adjust to his new reality. He declined an invitation to meet friends over the weekend, feeling the need to be alone and reflect. On Saturday morning, Sarah appeared at his doorstep. I heard it hasn't been easy, she said kindly, but at least it's behind you now. Oscar nodded and invited her inside. They sat on the couch, and after a long silence, Sarah took a deep breath. There's something I need to tell you, she began quietly. I've been meaning to say this for a while, but you had so much on your plate. She hesitated before continuing, and honestly, I didn't want to ruin our time together. Oscar tensed, bracing himself for what was coming. I'm engaged, Sarah confessed softly. We've been together for 3 years. Oscar blinked, stunned. What? Why did you hide this from me? Sarah explained that her feelings for him were always based on friendship, not romance. That doesn't change the fact that I deeply care about you as my best friend, she reassured him. I love you, but not in the way you might have thought. I can't marry you, but if he's okay with it, I'd love to keep our friendship as it's always been. As Sarah's words sank in, Oscar felt an unexpected sense of relief. The pressure of choosing between Sarah and Linda vanished. Thank you for your honesty, he said, squeezing her hand. You're my best friend, and I'm glad we can stay that way. In the following weeks, Oscar focused on healing and moving forward. He spent more time with both Sarah and Linda, appreciating their unwavering support. Meanwhile, Poppy struggled to adjust to her new life. She had moved into a smaller apartment in a less prestigious part of town, and her finances were strained due to the terms of the divorce. She tried to rebuild her relationship with the children, but they responded coldly and distantly, their wounds still fresh. Poppy was diagnosed with deep depression, and she even lost her job after frequent absences. Her employer told her, "I'm sorry, but we need a reliable employee. You're fired." The weight of loneliness pressed even harder on her. The children continued to avoid her, and so did her friends. Work had been her lifeline, but now even that was gone. What a fool I am, she often whispered to herself. But it was too late to think about that now. She had made her choice. This concludes the story. If you like it, then put your powerful like and subscribe to the channel.